All right, guys. Hi, welcome back to the Honey Podcast. This is season 2, episode 3. And today we have a special co-host with me. I'm Danie, of course, and this is
Pamela. Thank you so much for having me, Dani.
Of course. And we also have a special guest. This is Brendan Brown from Wheatus, and some people know him as BBB. And we have him here to talk to us today a little bit about music and some other things that we wanted to ask him. Do you want to just give a little intro of yourself?
Sure. Welcome to our messy studio. This is where we're currently re-recording the entire 10 songs from our first album, and also an additional 10 songs that we kind of lost along the way that were very first album-ish. It's just I'm like drowning in cables and analog equipment that you can see behind me, and that's it. That's my life. You're staring at my life right now. And dog walks. Sorry. Yeah.
The only reason we look so organized is because we have green screens. Otherwise, my stuff would look a mess too.
Yeah. Well, I have like a tribute to a green screen right there. That's not really working very well.
I respect that. We wanted to hear a little bit about your music and about your music taste. So that's a perfect segue into what we want to talk about. So Kams, do you want to get it started?
Of course. So you've mentioned that you're re-recording some stuff from your first album. How's the recording process going?
At first, it was really hard. What we did first was we took a look at Teenage Dirtbag in order to sort of like reverse engineer it from what we did. The first album back in 1999, or actually more like March of the year 2000, was recorded in my mother's basement in her house. Yeah. And some of the stuff you see behind me, we had there at the time, but most of it we sold over the years or like swapped out, or it broke or whatever. And during that time, recording was not on a computer yet, really. That was rare. Most people didn't record on computers back then. What was more popular was like this sort of like these VCR type recorders that have long since they lasted like a year and a half and they were gone. But the year we recorded, they were very popular, and we did record on this format, this old Tascam format. And the short story is that those tapes and the machines that they played back on are all gone. They're completely lost. And it doesn't seem like our record label ever transferred that music onto a computer, a Pro Tools rig, or not even GarageBand or anything like that. It was just like, so it's gone. So we made it again, and making it again was this weird process of like almost becoming forensic detectives, kind of like music CSI kind of thing. Like we kept like lots of phone calls and looking at old photographs and like, what did we do when people I haven't worked with for decades? I'm like, what did we do that one day when we got the kick drum to sound like this? And it was just, we finally, piece by piece, we put back together the technique of how we did it. And we started with Teenage Dirtbag because we figured if we couldn't get that one done, we shouldn't bother to do the rest of it. And we pulled it off. That one's currently on Spotify. Teenage Dirtbag 2020 is the new version. Awesome. And that's, well, thank you. But then once we got over that challenge of kind of putting Humpty Dumpty back together again, we started doing the other songs. And we found like this sort of box of demos and stuff from like 2004, 2005, 2006, like that all kind of stuff that sounded like it belonged on the first album, but that's the reason we didn't use it, so back then. So we thought, we could put out 2020 in the year 2020, 20 songs, and like, well, it's like, let's do this, and then, yeah, right. It made total sense. And then COVID. And but anyway, we were the way that we record things is on this like super old school, like sort of analog technique, and it requires we be in the same room together because we're a live band, and that COVID has really slowed us down. So we're doing it piece by piece now, and recording sort of and finishing like 2 songs at a time. So Like we did Teenage Dirtbag and a song from that Lost Songs group called Mope. That's our most recent dual single.
Yeah.
And then the next one is we think it's going to be, not 100% sure yet, but we think it's going to be this song called Temporary Song that Josh and Sandy from One Direction play on. We've done some things with them over the years.
So cool.
And yeah, they're incredible musicians, as you know. And you know, we did some Josh was here last March, and it was just the last week of February, first week of March, when it was just starting to figure out that COVID was a real thing and it was getting scary. So together, Josh and his now wife Holly and my girlfriend Gabrielle, we did trips to the grocery store with masks on together for the first time.
Wow.
You know, so yeah, it was weird. And that's when we were recording, was about a year ago. So, but that one's almost done. And I think we're going to put that one out with another song from our first album called Sunshine. So it'd be, you know, both of those.
Awesome. I think that's perfect that you guys did Teenage Dirtbag first. I mean, like, that is such a huge song. It's known, like, so well known. And that was something that we wanted to talk about as well, was just how many people have done so many awesome covers of that song. I mean, none of them, of course, compared to yours. But,
well, I like some of them better than ours, but
that was exactly where I was going with this. I wanted to hear some of your favorite covers of the song.
Right. So, well, Rustin Kelly recently did a beautiful sort of two different takes on it on his on his covers record. I think the way he slowed it down and kind of made it sort of like sort of hopeful, you know, was really pretty. There's a Phoebe Bridgers version from a few years ago.
I wrote that down. That's my favorite.
That one I can't even listen to. I'll if I'm in public, I'll cry. Like
I get it. I totally get that.
She's so good. Of course, your boys in 1D did a pretty great job.
That's funny because that's actually how I was introduced to you guys, was through literally going to see One Direction and them covering Teenage Dirtbag.
Right. Yeah. I'll never forget this. So I was in New York City watching my friend MC Lars play a show. And I had just, it was like 2013. It was like, I think it was November 2013. And we were strangely, we were in Midtown, which is really close to Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And my Twitter I looked at it one time and I was like, why do I have 600 notifications? Like, what the hell? At the time we had, 6,000 followers and we were this band from the 90s that had this song, and I was fine with that. And but my phone's blowing up and I look and it's like all this video footage of Madison Square Garden.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, we never played Madison Square Garden. Who is it? And it was One Direction. It was and the first image of it was Niall singing. And I think he had kind of maybe like a button-down shirt on or something, and I was like, oh, this is that English boy band. Oh my God. Because I had heard of them, because we go to England a lot, to tour and stuff. And I had seen them in the press over there before they came to America. Mm-hmm. And, because they were on, what was it? They were all contestants on X Factor. Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, these guys, why are these guys playing Madison Square Garden? And it's just kind of, it was them starting to blow up, like in my face a few blocks away from where it was. So that was strange. And then Josh reached out to me on Twitter and we hit it off and released a single together. And we have a few songs with Josh and Sandy where we wrote together that we all kind of sing on. That's sort of like, it's not Wheatus, it's something else. We haven't really kind of nailed it down, but it was an instant friendship. All those guys were great. I wound up at Sandy's wedding. I was like,
like, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was. So it's this funny, like those guys are actually 20 years younger than me, which is weird, but they were they were like 10 or 11 years old when Teenage Dirtbag came out as a single over there. So I was part of their childhood, I guess, on some level. And, what's pretty impressive is that they were part of what would be considered the big mainstream music industry over there. Yeah. But they still insisted on covers that they really loved, that they were genuine about, Right. So I was stoked about that.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. And that is crazy, like how it ended up that way, awesome, just totally awesome.
Yeah, that's a short story. There's all kinds of details, but we'll save it for the book.
I mean, that is a great story. And as far as that, you kind of segued into my next question about Twitter. So I was scrolling through your Twitter and I noticed a couple people have blocked you, and I thought it was awesome. And I just wanted to know if there's any other people that have blocked you that we don't know about yet.
I don't know. I tend not to notice until somebody like posts, like retweets something on my timeline that has them in it, and I can't see it, and I'm like, hey, what?
Yeah. Honestly, I saw Kirstie Alley and I have never laughed so hard. It was like amazing. I was like, this is awesome. I gotta step my game up.
My childhood was like pretty kind of rough. Like I had a lot of fistfights, got beat up a lot, and the stuff that people called each other was way nastier than anything you see on Twitter. So in some sense, I always prefer to be sort of very friendly and talk about things that are beautiful and wonderful, which are in short supply these days. We will kind of admit. But I'm also at the same time definitely not afraid to get dirty with some politics or something like that. Yeah. Like I will just say what. So, I have a degree in history, and part of the focus of that degree was in Russian Revolution and World War II. And I kind of see a lot of parallels happening, and I'll be damned if I'm not going to say anything, like this is like the big, and you always say, I would always sit there in class in college and think like, how did this happen? How did the Holocaust happen? How did nobody say anything, And here we are, and it sounds and looks like a duck, and it might be a duck, so like time to say something, so even if we lose, I'd rather be somebody who right. said the most about, yeah.
And you have a huge platform to do it on. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm an independent musician, so it's a little easier for me to speak my mind. I know that some other pop musicians have bigger, more sort of complex relationships with multimedia companies and stuff, and they can't always say what's on their mind. But right. I struggled early on to be independent, and we own our own stuff. So, I'm not going to be.
Yeah, go for it. That's awesome. Totally respect that. All right, Kams, I'll let you take the floor. I've been hogging it a little bit over here.
It's fine. I was really enjoying your questions. So, as you know, we have kind of escaped normal life a little bit. And we are all in the situation where we're spending a lot more time at home than we would probably like to. So I was wondering if you'd picked up any lockdown habits that you wouldn't usually catch yourself doing beforehand.
Oh boy. Well, so my girlfriend Gabrielle Sturbins and I, who's also in the band, we have fully and completely taken up BMX riding.
Wow.
Yeah. I was always into BMX as a kid. It was my primary exercise. I was addicted when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13, and I carried on with it all through into my adult life. And we now live in a place in New York City where there's a lot of hills, and we ride as hard as we can, like uphill, crazy hills together, BMXs. She rides a vintage BMX cruiser, and so do I. Hers is metallic green, teal, and mine is white with black tires and stuff. So, but we kind of push each other to do that. We never did anything like that before. In the 10 years that we've been together, we never connected over like an activity that way. And that's pure pandemic habit. I'm really glad about that. That's like my favorite thing. We do eat a little too much, so maybe we're compensating.
I think we are all guilty of that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Several times last week, I was like, should we order that Mexican again? And she was like, you just had that 3 hours ago. You just got that delivery.
Like, I want it again.
I want it now.
The beauty of Uber Eats and all of that services,
Oh
like I am constantly ordering food, and I know it's bad for me, but I will continue to do it.
Yeah. It's this
weird DoorDash in business, you know.
It totally is. It's like this weird little thing that you can look forward to. That's like, that's okay. Lunch. Oh wow, lunch. You know,
little things in life now.
Anything else that I can eat.
Yeah. Yeah, we're the same.
That's pretty cool. That's really, really cool. BMX bike riding. Wow. Of all the things I expected you to say, I did not expect that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's lots of other habits, I'm sure, that are sort of like somewhat like not great, I guess. Like there's a little bit too much TV happening in the house. You know, we've caved in finally after never ever doing any kind of cable anything, and we got Netflix and you know, Amazon Prime. So it's like I've never watched so many documentaries. Like I just can't, like, you know, but I watch them in these ridiculous 5-minute increments because I don't like sitting in front of the TV. It makes me feel like I'm not doing enough work. So I like
a whole new level to binge watching.
It is. It's like micro binging. Yeah.
You gotta try that. I definitely gotta try that. Well, you gotta tell us your favorite documentary so far.
Well, the most recently, there's a Peter Bogdanovich film called let me get this right. You'll Love Me When I'm Gone, I think it is. It's about Orson Welles. Do you know who he is? He's the brilliant filmmaker who made Citizen Kane and a bunch of other fantastic movies, but he was blacklisted out of Hollywood because he was dubbed a communist and difficult to work with. So in the 1950s, they pushed him out and he moved to Europe. And when the next generation of sort of open-minded film people came in the 1970s, people who would eventually make like Jaws and Star Wars and all the like second wave of 20th century cinema, they worshipped him. And so he came back as this like old man who had been the legend, you know, like, and it's a really interesting documentary about how he came back and how he tried to make a movie, and he was difficult to work with still, but he was this genius and everybody wanted to tolerate him and be with him and stuff. And it's a really cool documentary that I watched recently. And of course there's so much true crime stuff.
Oh my goodness. I'm hooked on that at the moment.
The best.
Did you watch what's the one, Tread, about the guy who built a killdozer and destroyed his own town?
Oh my gosh, wait, I have heard of that. Yeah, the killdozer.
This is news to me.
This was the stupidest, weirdest story. Like I couldn't believe. I was like, what? And it turned out, on just in terms of the news cycle, 2 days after it happened, Ronald Reagan died. And there was like a presidential funeral, and like it took up all of the media airspace. So nobody paid attention to this, but this story is so weird. It's so crazy. You have to watch it. You have to watch it.
I'm don't worry, I'm writing all this down. This is like one of my favorite parts of having guests on our show, is that we get so many like good things to watch and listen to. It's my favorite. So yeah, you definitely got to check that one out because it's just so strange.
I'm surprised I haven't heard about it before. It sounds really crazy.
It's the craziest thing on TV right now.
Sure the way I heard about it is one of my friends was like, "You gotta like look at this. This is unreal." And I was like, "No, this can't be real."
I paused it so much. I was like, just taking a deep breath, like, I can't believe this actually happened. This is crazy.
Yeah. Totally agree with that.
That was me with this documentary I watched earlier in lockdown period on Netflix, and it was about a girl who went missing, and it was the neighbor that kidnapped the girl, and the family had no idea, but the family, when the girl returned, let the neighbor off the hook because the neighbor had said that he was from aliens, like he was sent by the aliens to kidnap this child.
Wait, what is that called?
I've forgotten what it was called, but it turns out the girl who was actually kidnapped, she's grown up and now she's an extra in films, and she was in like the Iron Man movies, and it was really crazy. It was really weird.
Why does this weird stuff happen? I don't even
Where did you watch this at?
It was on Netflix. It was on Netflix, and the parents were like, "Oh no, we totally understand. Like, you know."
Oh, it was just the aliens.
Yeah, we get it.
God. Yeah, human beings are pretty strange. They're out there doing
They
stuff.
are. That is incredible. Oh my goodness. I love documentaries. I can't get enough of that stuff.
Yeah, it's the best.
So another question that I have for you, going back to covers and things like that, what would you say is your favorite song that you like to cover?
Oh man. We recently did a series of covers for our Patreon. It's patreon.com/Wheatus. And we did a Belinda Carlisle song called Heaven is a Place on Earth, old pop song from the 80s. Another one, I don't know if you're familiar with the group called Wilson Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
We did a Wilson Phillips song. We did a song by The Darkness. We did but yeah, You're Growing on Me, which is one of my favorites ever.
Very cool.
I really love singing Justin Hawkins' vocal parts because we have a similar range. So it's like I can try and pretend I'm him, you know.
Yeah.
But also we did a Fleetwood Mac song, You Can Go Your Own Way. We did the Monkees, I'm a Believer. We did Friday I'm in Love by The Cure, which is one of the most beautiful things ever in music. We had to stop doing that because I kept getting emotional. We did like seven or eight like false takes because I just kept like losing it, you know. And it's like 4 chords, but you get lost in the emotional. Like it's like, the first time I heard this, I was 13. Yeah. So we did what else? We did 5 Seconds of Summer. We did Jet Black Heart.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a great composition. We just kind of like picked songs from here and there that we really loved. We did the Scissor Sisters. What's that song? I can't remember the name of it right now. I played it and sang it and I can't remember the name of it. Oh my God. Sorry, it's because I'm naming like 20 songs and they're all flashing through my head. But yeah, it was their kind of like biggest hit, like the one that's like starts out like down 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 down. You know that one?
I don't know the name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
Right. What else? Yeah, we did. There's a whole like series of them. We do a couple of Rush songs. I'm a really big Rush fan from when I was a teenager, and we do a song by them called Time Stands Still, which is this pretty sort of like song. It's a song about nostalgia, which is weird because it's this like old song that I listen to, you know. So we love doing fun, weird covers. But I think Matthew, our bass player, and I the other day we were discussing this, and we think that the Wilson Phillips song is going to be the one. The Hold On for One More Day song is going to be the one that we keep in the set all the time.
I love that.
yeah, it's such a beautiful song, and we have, you know, Wheatus has always had female singers in the band. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we have 3, sometimes we have 2, depending on what we can afford and how long the tour is and all that stuff. But it's really nice to be able to hand over the lead vocal to the BVs and where I just play guitar, you know. That's like a moment for me. And that's what the Wilson Phillips track is like that. So, you know, but yeah, it's covers are the best. Do you have like a favorite cover by a band that you've heard that you're just like, wow?
Okay, so for me, it would have to be 5 Seconds of Summer. They did at the BBC Radio 1 Live Lounge Stay by Post Malone. And it was weird because I wouldn't expect them to cover Post Malone, but they did it so beautifully, and it just sounded like their own song, like they did their own take on it, and it was beautiful, and I just love it.
I haven't heard that. Now I'm gonna go look at that. Thank you.
Spotify. It's on Spotify.
Thank you. Thank you.
that's a tough one. We actually did a show where we did pop punk covers. And I'm gonna say it again, and I literally say this every single podcast, but I love pop punk, so it's like my thing. But the band Grayscale, they did The Old Apartment. They did a cover of that, and I love like 90s music like that. And so I really dig that one. It's really cool. And they like
Yeah.
make it their own. So I love when bands do that. They kind of like keep it the same, but kind of also just put their little edge in it. And I just love it.
Yeah. That is so cool. There's one of my favorite covers that's really kind of obscure. Do you know who the Smiths are?
Yes.
Well, they have a song called How Soon Is Now, which has been covered by a lot of people.
Yeah.
But in the early 90s, one of my sort of favorite New York City local hardcore bands did a cover of it.
Awesome.
This band called Quicksand. And for a long time, it was like impossible to find because they did it in the 90s and it was only on CD or like a CD single, I think, or maybe even a cassette single. And then like for the first half of the internet, it wasn't even on there, you know? So I think it is there now if you look on Spotify, but that's a cool.
Yeah, I wrote that down. That sounds like something I would definitely be into.
Yeah, they're a straight edge hardcore band, not quite punk, sort of like old school New York City hardcore. So it's about as opposite a genre as you could get for that cover, which is what I kind of like the challenge of like, yeah.
Absolutely. Kams, I know we had talked about the Patreon. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So I had a couple of questions about that. How's that going? Finding something new to put up every month.
It's kind of our favorite thing to do now. At first we were like, how is this going to work? Where are we going to get this content? But then we realized kind of like, there's a handful of people on there who really, really, really care, and their interest and the details that they seek and that they ask us for has driven us to this whole other, like, it's almost like there's like a small room in our world that is dedicated to intense, detailed information, like deep dives into what we do and how we do it. And those people want to know that stuff, and we save it all for them, and we do videos like that for them. And that, you know, of course, that's the sort of like looking straight into our lives without any kind of filter kind of thing. So it's really nice it's actually been oddly intimate and like very friendly and sort of a family vibe when we're kind of discussing like the silly little details of how we make music and why we came to a decision about a guitar sound or some kind of like other thing, you know. And that's the place where we can really be nerds, like about what we do. Mm-hmm. And we started when the pandemic began, we started pairing that with performance. So we've been doing these things where we're all set up in different rooms for like COVID safety, and we set up a little local area network with Cisco routers so we could all be on the same Zoom chat without any delay, you know, which was kind of a pain in the ass to figure out. And but we did it and it works. And now like once or maybe sometimes twice a month, we do these sort of Q&A concerts where we play something and we'll stop in the middle of the song and say, okay, so this part here, this chord was originally like this, but we changed it because it does this, and blah, blah, blah. We go and describe the whole thing and why we do it. So, and that little group of people really has been drawn to that kind of content. So it's so cool. It's like you always have this feeling like when you're at a big show, like when you have like over 400 or 500 people in the audience, you know that they're not all there for the same reason. We recently did a tour with Busted in 2016 where it was sold out arenas and there's 20,000 people. And, you know, it was like, I know that there's like 10 people in here who really want to listen to something in a different way. And you always wonder, like, I hope it's not a bummer for them to, like, you know, to do it this big. And this is the chance to serve those people exactly what they're looking for, kind of thing. So it's really cool.
I think it's really cool that away from, real world concerts and stuff, you now have this platform where you can be as intimate with fans and, you know, hear their input and what you're playing and putting out to them. I think that's really cool. Yeah.
At first it was so weird because the energy and the atmosphere of a live show, you know, it's sweaty, you're breathing each other's air. It's like, we improvise set lists. We never do a set list. We always,
Wow.
yeah, we always, before we go on tour, we rehearse for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we learn everything that we can in the catalog, just in case somebody wants to hear it. So the crowd is constantly shouting out our set list, and
That's incredible.
yeah, it's so much fun. It's so much more fun, and so we were used to that like hyper fast exchange of communication in between songs with the crowd, and like, oh really, that's okay, that one, no, we'll do that one next, no, okay, yes, that one, and then we do it, you know. And like it was like boom 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 boom, and we try really hard to make it fast because then we squeeze in everybody gets what they want kind of thing. But without that physical presence of people, that energy is so hard to find. Like that exchange, the communication on Zoom is, it feels so weird to not have an audience, and you have to mute your microphone so you can't, even if they're into it, or if they shout, you can't hear them, you know. So it's like we're in bubbles, you know. So but this was a way to get that back, like to get that exchange back, you know. I was a skeptic at first, but it totally works now. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of those things that is cool, well, not cool, but one of the best things to come out of COVID has been like the intimate setting that you get to have with like your favorite artists now. I feel like, I mean, like doing Zooms, it's definitely not as great in the same, but it's really cool to kind of get that one-on-one kind of time with your like favorite band. So I do enjoy that as much.
Yeah. So who are your favorite Zooms? Like what acts do you like pay close attention to when they come on?
Well, I am a big MGK fan, so like I love Machine Gun Kelly, and you either like love him or hate him, but I had a lot of fun with that one. I've gotten to do like a lot of like little local bands that I really enjoy. So for example, this band from Philly, Bridge People, they had this like Zoom listening party for their new album, and they like literally sat on a Zoom and like watched it and talked to us the whole time, and we like listened to every single song from the album. It was just really cool, and like that would have probably obviously never happened had it not been COVID times, you know. So
Right.
I like loved that. I thought that was really cool.
That is amazing. I mean, personally, and none of the artists that I like have gone that far yet and like set up like live shows or Zooms for fans. But I think one thing that I've really loved during this time period is the music documentaries that have come out. So there was Shawn Mendes. He actually dropped his documentary, like doing his new album, and also then a live show documentary that was just him on stage. And I really miss going to concerts. So being able to watch that in the comfort of my own home and forcing my family to watch it with me was a really, really great experience. So
yeah, I guess that's the other thing. You can't like drag your family to a show necessarily, but you can drag them to a Zoom.
yes.
I used to like when I was learning how to play guitar, I would spend hours and hours like playing along in the living room to AC/DC or Rush or, you know, whatever, Dire Straits or even Michael Jackson and, you know, Prince and whatever else. And if I ever had this moment where I was like, oh my God, I had like a discovery moment about music, I would like run through the house, grab my mom and be like, come here, you have to hear this thing that, you know, and she'd be like, oh, that's nice.
Cool.
You know? but yeah, you can't really do that at a show necessarily.
Totally understand that. I agree. My roommate is not into the same music as me at all. And I watched the Wonder Years, one of my also favorite bands, on a live stream on Halloween. And I was like, you have to watch it with me. And like we sat and drank beer and watched it. And she was like, but she would have never gone with me to the concert. So like that was a cool experience.
You know what?
I
love that band. I think it's a good time to introduce people to new music that they wouldn't usually listen to.
Yeah, because they're trapped. They can't escape.
Wait, time out. Did you just say you love that band?
The Wonder Years? Oh yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite newer hard rock bands. We played with them in Philly in, I think it was 2012, maybe 2011.
May have probably been there.
Yeah, at Union Station or Union Transfer. Was that the name of the place?
Union Transfer. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, they invited us. They were such nice guys. And they were like, I just also like at the time I was only sort of like glancingly familiar with their catalog. I knew some of their
Mhm.
songs, but I had never seen them live until we played with them. And I was like, oh my God, this band, like, they're
They're
so,
definitely like number one, I think, for me, honestly.
holy crap, they're so good. Like,
So
that's
good.
those guys are the real thing, man. It's so
I'm
cool.
I'm from Delaware, so like my closest like place to leech onto is Philly. So everything Philly, I like love them. They're
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
live.
Philly, if I wasn't a New York City boy, Philly would be it. Definitely. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that is so cool. I love that. Shout out to
Yeah.
100 years.
Do you guys have any song recommendations for me based on what you said about this band?
Oh my goodness. The whole thing. They actually are celebrating 20 years of their album as well. Their two first albums. You could put on any song of theirs and just have a great time with. They've got it all. You want to cry? Sure. You want to jump around your living room? Sure. Like
Variety.
Yeah, hold on. I'm looking up because you know how if you have you ever seen a song live for the first time and thought this one's my
Yeah.
favorite, but you don't know the name.
the name
You
of
don't know
it,
the name
yeah.
of it. That was my experience with that band. They kind of destroyed me. They like melted me a little bit because I was just I don't know. I couldn't like I wasn't prepared for how much I was gonna like it, and then I was just like flattened.
Oh my gosh.
So there's an album called Suburbia, I've Given You All, and Now I'm Nothing. That I would start there mostly because that's where I kind of started with them. But there was this one tune that's later on that. Hold on, I'm looking it up now. I think it might be Don't Let Me Cave In. Or the Living Room song. It's later in the album. And I often just let it play through to like, while I'm driving, like advance to the like middle of the album and just play it, Yeah, definitely. If you don't like hard music, they're a great band if you're not necessarily into heavy stuff because they're just so earnest and emotional about what they're saying, and it's a genuine like empathetic voice that's like that just you feel like you're instantly friends with him, kind of like so quickly, and the music is like raw, so it's and they don't sing like that. I mean the presentation of their
Right.
compositions and their arrangement is huge.
Yeah.
They don't joke around. They're like real tight musicians, very very good. So
Very cool.
yeah.
I love that. That's so awesome. And now you guys totally have to come back and play the Union Transfer again. So I can.
I would love to. We do have a tour booked for the summertime with another band that we are obsessed with and have been huge fans of since the 90s. So I can't say yet because it's currently unannounced. But
well, also really good.
Yeah. but the reason I really can't say it is because it has this asterisk about COVID. Everyone's going to have vaccination. So I don't want to get ahead of the show or anything. Yeah.
Well, I certainly can't wait to hear. Yeah. I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kams. You got something?
I was just going to talk about what you've been keeping up with. So during this time, what are your favorite songs? Have you been keeping up with any artists or new artists?
Phoebe, I'm just forever and ever listening to Phoebe Bridgers. And in a weird way, I'll go one song at a time and like actually have it on repeat all day, walking around with my headphones on.
Yeah.
I listen to music that way. Like if I like something, it's like, okay, I'm going to peel this onion forever until there's nothing left. And her Punisher is the record that I've been sort of like just melted into quite a bit. And when that tends to happen, for me, I also kind of turn other stuff off a little bit because I like to focus on it. Mm-hmm. The other thing to remember is like I'm currently making and recording and mixing our 2020 edition, and that's like sometimes 8 or 10 hours of music a day.
Wow.
So when I get into bed or I'm like trying to wind down after that, I'll put on Phoebe on a really low volume or like ride my bike with her on where it's really low volume. And what it does is it's like this shifts the gears so that because it's not very loud and everything else has been, you kind of have to like refocus and get small again, you know, and just so I actually use music for like mental health that way. And she's really good in that capacity. There's a band from 2006 2005 kind of timeline, a band called The Secret Machines, that are kind of like almost like a like emo Led Zeppelin or something, like but stranger than that in some ways. And these big, huge, beautiful, like they sound like they're in a room that's bigger than the earth, you know, like that's the size of their sound. And they have a really tragic story that I think that their sort of like lead singer died of cancer sometime after their second album was released. I'm pretty sure I might be getting this wrong, but I think that they have some kind of tragedy like that. They were a New York City band that was around during the time that we were just getting started as well. So check out Secret Machines. Specifically, I would say start with a song called, hang on, I'll tell you in a moment. Secret Machines. Yeah, so the album that is my favorite is an album called Now Here Is Nowhere. And their second song on that record is called Sad and Lonely. And you should check that out. It's
the title
sounds,
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like old school music. And then all these like weird synthesizers come in and they're like doing this kind of like almost trash noise rock, but it's super pretty somehow, like beautiful. Oh God, so
I'm
good.
a sucker for big production.
Yeah,
that is just my thing. So
like, what's your favorite record this year?
Oh my goodness, this year?
Yeah,
it's really hard to pick. Oh my God.
I know it's a really hard question, so I won't be surprised if you like.
Hard.
I asked you a question I'm not sure I could answer myself, to be honest.
I'm trying to think of everything that I heard. I think I'm gonna be super basic and just say, because it's like the last album I remember listening to in 2020, but I have to say Ariana Grande's Positions, which is super basic.
God, that record is so good. Wait a minute. Okay, so I've always loved her music, and her skills are like there's no one else, right? She's like Mariah Carey and Celine Dion in one person, basically.
Yes.
But I never liked one of her records the way that I liked that one. Like,
it was great. It was really great.
That record is so brave and just like huge, and it sounds really gummy. Like I always listen to it. I feel like I'm chewing like bubble gum when I like literally like it feels like these big stretchy beats and like super cool like elastic vibes. That shit is incredible.
It just makes me really happy. Like the last couple albums, I know obviously she's gone through quite a hard time, and like you can feel that in the record, but then this record was just very happy, and I think that's exactly what the world kind of needed at that moment. So
yeah, that's an accurate thing to say. Yeah, wow, good choice, good call. There's one song on Folklore that, hold on, let me find it.
Oh, Folklore was just
another good one.
Yeah, I think, August. The song called August. That one, I was like, whoa. That was really weird. A really strange, almost like dark nightmares kind of song that was still sort of weird, like nostalgic, and like something tragic maybe happened, and I had no idea what she was talking about, and I didn't care. Like I was like, no, I'm there. I'm with you.
I feel you.
That made me feel like I was like lost in the woods with Taylor Swift. Like that was just the entirety of Folklore for me.
Yeah. And how did, like, I haven't missed my parents for a very, very long time in the way that she made me miss my parents. You know, like I got dropped off at school on the first day, like, you know, like that kind of like terror of missing your parents. Weird. Yeah. She's something else.
I think that with COVID, we've had such a great amount of like songwriting and song production. It's been so cool that we've gotten so much new music from like a strewn of great artists.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely, that is one of the upsides for sure. I agree with you on that.
Are you guys looking forward to anything releasing this coming year?
We're actually in New York City. We're just starting to get information about the vaccine. So it's hard to like imagine what life is going to be like when we're all released from that. But like I'm only now kind of going through some of the things that I was looking forward to being released earlier. And I feel, honestly, I feel a little overwhelmed with all the content. Like I can't, yeah, like it's all great and there's lots of great stuff out there and it's going to take me another 2 years to chew through it. You know?
For me, I am like, I've gone back on my One Direction stuff. I am really excited for, I think Zayn's record's releasing.
Oh yeah, I saw that yesterday. Yes.
Yeah, that will be really cool. And I know obviously this was a couple years ago, but Harry released Fine Line, but he just put out the music video for Treat People with Kindness. I thought that was really cool. So that's the content I've been loving. Yeah,
that's cool. Why is his name escaping me? The drummer from 5 Seconds of Summer. He's so good. Ashton just put that record out. That like sort of like almost experimental rock record, sort of. You know, that shit's great. That is crazy weird. I love how strange it is. I love how strange they've gotten. Like they're kind of like
they're in their element right now, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Looking forward to other stuff. I don't know. I don't really know. I think that things are going to change in the summer a lot. Like we're going to, in some ways, I think some of us are going to miss this weird little cocoon that we got stuck in. I know that I love to be on the road, and it's been really hard to move that energy into other things because there's nothing like it. But you know, obviously it's not a huge problem to have. People are having way worse problems than that, but I would love to be on the road again. You know, that would be my choice.
I think we all really miss just going to concerts as well. So I think all the fans feel you on that.
For sure.
Yeah.
That was like one of my favorite things to do. And now I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah, right. What is the last concert you went to before it happened?
I don't even remember. I want to say, I think it was Grayscale and Rich People and Belmont, like a bunch of pop punk bands in Philly. Yeah, I think that was the last one I got to, and it was like right before this all went down too.
Wow, funny enough, same here. I saw the Jonas Brothers in London, and that was like February, and I remember on the news all this stuff was like starting to come up, and I remember there being like 3 cases in London, and I just didn't think it would get this bad, and I just didn't think that was going to be like my last concert for, you know, however long. So
and then it was like that, it'll be a like 3-week quarantine and this and that, and then it was like, now here we are almost a year later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My last concert before the pandemic was Math the Band. Are you familiar with them? Oh my God. If you're into pop punk, you'll love Math the Band.
I will check this down.
So Math the Band, who are now called Math the Band, was originally a project that my friend Kevin Steinhauser from Rhode Island started with his then partner Justine. And it was just a 2-piece, and he's like a synthesizer wizard. He turns all these video games into instruments, and he plays video games, and he creates these ridiculous beats with old vintage video games. Awesome. And then he plays them on an iPod on stage, and he plays guitar along to them live and sings to them live, which is, and these compositions that he makes are impossible for humans to play.
Yeah,
they're like too fast and too many notes and really weird. But it's all like hyper speed pop punk arrangements, and it's all video game sounds, and he's playing a guitar so loud that your face will melt, and he's like, it's just like, it's so full on. It's the most full on pop punk thing I've ever seen.
I have stars all around that. I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
I will definitely check back in and tell you how I feel about that. I'm sure
Math the Band, you're gonna really like, this is it, you know. he decided to start hire musicians to play in a band that played this stuff that he made, which is not really possible. So what you see these guys live, and they're playing like it's
possible.
so crazy.
That must be
It's so
experience live.
I know. I like need to see that live now.
No, you're just like, everyone just is like, oh my god, and the crowd is just part of the show, and it's just nuts.
That's crazy.
But they were the last band I saw in New York City before it all went wrong on
Well, at least you
January
went out with
7th.
a bang.
Yeah, what a way to
it
end
was
it.
it was a really good last show, and then they all slept over my house, which was great. So
Love that.
yeah.
I miss things like that. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, my wrap up kind of question for you is that a lot of our fans know you because of Teenage Dirtbag, and while it is a great song, we know that you guys have so many other great songs, and we want to just hear like a couple of recommendations for our fans so they can get into you and tell us, like, if you want to give us a little backstory on why you picked those, that would be awesome.
Sure. So I'll tell you, I'm picking them because we recently had a song tournament on our Patreon.
Love that.
Where everybody voted. There was like NCAA type brackets for like sports,
Oh yeah.
And we did an elimination tournament with all of our songs. It was like, I think it started, we have like 60 some odd songs on the internet on distribution over the years right now. And it narrowed down to a very small number, and Teenage Dirtbag was eliminated in like the third round. Like,
oh wow.
Right. So, and now I'm not one of these guys who hates his own song. I love Teenage Dirtbag. I love playing it. I love how much people have sort of made it their own, and how many people see themselves in it is just really beautiful to me, and very fortunate. But it surprised me that the winner of the tournament was a song of ours called Lemonade from our second album. It was supposed to be the single on the second record, but the release of our second album got all screwed up. And it's still on our Spotify. It's one of the more popular songs on our top 5 or whatever. So Lemonade, I would start with if you wanted to see what else we did during that time back in the 2000s kind of thing. And then if you wanted to get into something that was like maybe a little bit more emotional, there's songs on our third record. On the second half of our third record, there's a song called The Truth I Tell Myself, and another song called The London Sun, which was The London Sun and Jet Black Heart are like kind of cousins a little bit. They kind of feel the same. And then if you wanted to know my favorites, most recently, I'd say the title track from our 2013 record called Valentine. That song is kind of, at the time, was kind of way up at the limit of exactly what kind of a composition I could make and that the band could do. And when we pulled it off, we were like, so
Incredible.
I would say check out Valentine. Yeah.
Awesome. Kams, do you have any other questions? Anything else you want to say?
Honestly, that was going to be my also wrap up, like any recommendations for new listeners, but thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I put Fair Weather Friends was a good one that I really enjoyed. So, that was my one my recommendation for the band.
Thank you. Yeah. Our bass player, Matthew, his original first love of music was pop punk. And he always makes me play Fair Weather Friend. And he does this thing like
comical.
So,
I think that.
Right. Fair Weather Friend is in the key of D, and the chorus is really high pitched, thing. And he loves to like whenever I ask the audience like what's next, he'll be over there like Fair Weather Friend.
Love it.
Like Matthew, come on. Yeah.
I think my recommendation would be To Fall in Love. I think the live version.
Oh, you like that song?
Yeah.
Really
I'm so glad you like that. That's a really long song, has like a long dance outro kind of thing that we did.
But it fits so well.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad you like that. That's one of my favorites to play. It's so fucking hard to play that. Like the singing and playing at the same time is like ballet for me. I have to like really choreograph that. But when we get that right, it's just like my heart grows like 4 sizes, you know. But I'm so glad you like that song. That's really heartwarming. Thank you.
No problem. It's a great song.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, we wanted to just say thank you again for hopping on with us. And if you'd ever like to come back, we are always extending the invite. You can always hop back on and talk to us.
I would love to come back, hopefully to be like with some of the other people in the band, and we can have like, because I mean, we have eclectic tastes from everywhere. There's stuff our bass player listens to that no one's ever heard of ever.
Yeah.
So like we could have a real good talk. I look forward to that.
Absolutely, we would love that, and especially when you guys put out the record, we would love to have you guys come talk about it.
Yeah. Well, we will. Thanks for having us, and thanks for having me. And
of course.
thanks for
Well,
being
we'll talk soon.
All right.
Well, thank you and take care.
Take care. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Be safe.
You too.